I was going to be done recording for the night, but Carson Baker just got crystal balled to commit to Florida. I don't know exactly what the timeline they think is. He's a 3-star on 24/7, but a 4-star on 3. I'm not too concerned about star ratings. Never really have. I just bring it up. I don't know why I bring it up. 2026 running back, 6'1.5", 195. Langston Hughes in the Atlanta metro area. So I think this is Milton. Reason I bring this up whenever we watch these big schools, we can we can trust our eyes a little bit more when we're watching them against better competition. So just want to remind y'all of that. Track athlete, 10.6 300 meter. I think I read that. Definitely think you see the track background show up for this kid on tape. Real runner. Real fast. It's Buford here. So I don't know why I always got to bring up the schools they're playing when I recognize the uniforms and all that. But so I'll tell you, this is kind of an interesting comparison here because it's a kid in the same class, but it's kind of an interesting dynamic going on. So this kid's a pretty good running back. He's definitely a track athlete. Definitely has legit 40 time. Definitely has legit breakaway speed. But you watch Colquitt County's Jay Lamar. That kid is just on another level. One of the fastest running back prospects I've never ever watched. But I hesitate to call him a running back prospect because the kid's not a real running back yet. The kid's more of just a track athlete. This kid that we're watching right now, Carson Baker, he's got that speed. Not quite to the level of Jay Lamar, but you can see him run with a bit more patience, has better vision, lets the block set a little bit better. The trade-off is you're just not getting that athleticism. And it's an interesting conversation because I think this is a kid that you'll trust to come in and contribute a bit earlier than Jay Lamar. I think that kid still has a whole lot to learn at the position. But at the same time, I think the other kid has a bit higher upside just because that kid's a pure athlete. But maybe it never develops. Some of these kids, they just never develop that sense, that running back sense, the vision sense. You can see this kid's developed in letting the block set a little bit more than I'd say the average high school running back. And he's got the athleticism to boot. So now we've checked 2 boxes. I usually put running backs in 3 boxes. You got the physical backs, you got the athletic backs, and then there's the actual running backs, the vision, all that stuff. This kid's checked two boxes so far. I really like the athletic skill set that this kid brings. Not just the long speed, not just the burst, but the change of direction as well. Now we want to see the physical. Just not necessarily is he physical, but to what extent is he physical? But to have 2 of the 3 boxes checked out puts him in, I'd say, the top half of the big time, highly recruited running backs that we'll watch. So as ask and you shall receive. So this kid doesn't have the build to necessarily just dominate in the physical aspect of being a running back, but I love seeing this more than the 40, the 60, the 70 yard breakaway runs where the kid just outruns everybody, because this kind of goes back to what I was saying, being a more developed running back. But you'll have a lot more carries in a football game that end like this than they will in the end zone. And the difference here is most high school running backs, this play ends right now. Okay, 5-yard gain. You gain 5 yards every time. You can be a pretty good spot. But keeping the legs turned and picking up another, this one's kind of even crazy. He picked up another 10 yards. But even if he just added another 2, 3, 4 yards, that kind of stuff adds up. So I think this kid being a 3-star in 24/7 is pretty ridiculous. Sometimes I'll watch a kid and be like, I understand that there's some division in ranking this kid, but I think he's more well-rounded than a lot of kids ahead of him. Maybe schools just or recruiting services aren't just in love with the frame, which I guess I can kind of understand the conversation there, but it definitely looks like he's got room to grow into it. Not a kid that's I think once he gets into the weight room, he'll kind of round out that physical aspects of the game more. He's already flashing. I'd say it's definitely not a calling card in his game, but yet I think in the weight room you can really see this kid turn into a dynamic running back at the next level. I think there's a whole lot to like. I'll tell you, he runs with a pretty high pad level, but that's all stuff that can get taught. So this kid I really liked. I really like going against the consensus when I like a kid better than the consensus. I kind of hate not liking a kid as much as other people do. I root for every kid I watch. I want them to be good, but sometimes it just doesn't turn out like that. I'm gonna give him a 5 on the vision. I know I was kind of hyping it up, but I did think there were some where he just hit a bit too fast. But I think a 6 on the burst, a 5 on the long speed, a 10.63 track 100-meter. That's a pretty good number to be at. I just don't know if it's top level. We'll give him a 6 on the change of direction and a 4 on the physicality for now. So honestly, I think this is the second highest running back I've watched. To be fair, I've only watched like 4 running backs, but yeah, definitely like this kid. Like I said, you can trust your eyes a bit more when you're watching them play Milton and when you're watching them play Buford and all the teams that Hughes plays every year. So definitely a kid I like. Thanks for watching. Let me know anybody else you want me to watch.